G'day lads, in this video I'll show you how to predict football matches for all 5 major European leagues using the Poisson distribution and live data in one Excel file. Now lads, this video uses array formulas that are only available to newer versions of Excel, but don't worry though lads, because the download for this model as well as the legacy version of the file, which works with any version of Excel, is available on the Excel Lads Patreon. If you're interested in learning about the statistical side of sports, click the first link in the description below and join hundreds of other lads learning more about sports modeling on Excel. Let's get into the video. So the first step, lads, is to bring in the table for each of the 5 European leagues. Here I have the English Premier League table. Next to it on the right, I have La Liga, then it's Ligue 1, France, Bundesliga in Germany, and then the Serie A table, of course, from Italy. Now, these tables have been brought in using a Power Query in Excel. Basically, what I've done is I've used the website Football Reference, that link is in the description below, to bring in these stats automatically so that when I press refresh all, these stats update. I've also named each table EPL, the competition name, underscore, then table. So La Liga table for the La Liga table, League underscore 1 underscore table, then for the Bundesliga table, Bundesliga underscore table, and then for Serie A, Serie underscore A underscore table. Now, if you look in the bottom left of my screen in the raw data worksheet, this is where the stats have actually been brought into Excel. So again, it's called a Power Query. I've used the stats that are updating on the Football Reference website, and then using a Power Query in Excel, I've brought them into the raw data worksheet, where I then pick them up using a mix of formulas in the data worksheet in a table, but I won't go into that this video. It doesn't matter how you do it, because the Power Query may be brought in differently depending on what version of Excel you're on. So I've got in order the EPL, La Liga, League 1, Bundesliga, and Serie A table, and then I've used formulas to collate all that information for each league in a table, which is in the data worksheet over here. Now lads, just to show you the importance of naming these tables, I'm going to put in cell A25 equals EPL underscore table, and now because I'm working with a version of Excel that's compatible with array functions, it spills the table or the array we named. And so if I change it to Bundesliga underscore table, it'll spill the Bundesliga table. What I can also do, and this becomes especially important in this video, is grab specific columns of the table, of whatever table we're using. So in cell A25, if I go EPL underscore table, and then in square brackets, the column name, it'll return that column. So I want to grab the teams in the EPL competition, and it does that. And then in B25, what I'm going to do now is in those square brackets, I'm instead going to put the column header W, standing for wins. And so when I press enter on that, it's also going to spill the number of wins each team has had so far in the season. So now lads, we're going to put in some values. In A25, put in the text home advantage, and then beside it in B25, put 10%. That's going to be a flat home advantage figure we're going to use in this model. Now from A27 to A32, put EPL average goals, La Liga, League 1, Bundesliga, and Serie A average goals. And now we're going to use a formula to grab these average goals for each competition. So in cell B27, that's going to be equal to sum, open bracket, EPL underscore table, and then in square brackets GF, standing for goals for, divided by the sum of EPL underscore table again, open bracket, now it's going to be MP, the number of matches played, and then when I close this bracket, that's going to give me the average amount of goals scored by a team in a match. And if I drag that down to cell B31, I've just got to go in and change EPL to La Liga here, then EPL to League 1, to Bundesliga, and then finally in row 31, EPL to Serie A, so that when I press enter on this, I've got for each of the 5 competitions the average goals figure, the average number of goals scored by each team in a match, and then I'll reduce it to 2 decimal places before I go down to cell A34 and put the text competition. Then to the right of that in cell B34, I'll put the text code. And in these 2 columns, I'm just going to match the official competition name to its code name, so that in later formulas it becomes easier to match a competition to its table. So in row 35 down to row 39, that's the EPL, La Liga, League 1, Bundesliga, and Serie A. Then the codes are in lowercase, EPL, La Liga, League_1, Bundesliga, and Serie_A. Next, I'm going to name these ranges now. So go back up to cell B25 and name this cell home_advantage in the box on the top left here. And then in cell B27, I'm going to name that EPL_average_goals. And then I'm going to do the same thing for La Liga down through to Serie A. So that's La Liga_average_goals, League 1 average goals, Bundesliga average goals, and then Serie A_average goals. And now I'm going to select the cells A35 to A39 and name that competition. And beside it in column B, I'm going to name this range competition_code. So write that into the box on the top left here, competition_code. And now, lads, I've got all the data and named ranges I need in order to carry out the predictions for our head-to-head matches to generate the expected goals and then the win probabilities for both teams based off of that figure. So create a new worksheet and call this dashboard. And in here, we're going to create a dashboard. So merge and center the cells A1 to C2, put sort of a gray fill there, and then I'm going to copy and paste that down to cell A3, so another merged and centered cell from A3 to C4, highlight that a darker gray, and then copy and paste that whole thing into D1. So the text in A1 is going to be competition, and then in D1 home, and in D3 away. Now merge and center the cells G1 to L2, do the same thing in G3 to L4, as well as merging and centering the cells M1 to N2 and M3 to N4. And put that all in a different color and wrap it in some borders. So now, lads, I've got to be able to select a competition for our head-to-head home and away matchup, and that's going to be in cell A3. So to do that, go into the data tab, into data validation, and then a pop-up window will appear. I want to allow a list, and then the source for that list will be competition. So that's that range we named literally 30 seconds ago, equals competition. That's the list of EPL, La Liga, League 1, Bundesliga, and Serie A. So I can select La Liga. And then what we should have now is a drop-down list for the home and away team that lists all the La Liga teams. So select cells G1 and G3. Go back into data validation and allow a list. This time my source will be different. It'll be equals indirect, open bracket. We're going to use an XLOOKUP function, where my lookup value will be A3. Remember to put $signs in front of both the column and row to absolute reference it. My lookup array is competition, comma, and my return array is competition_code. Close that bracket, put an ampersand, and in speech marks underscore table, square brackets, team. Close the bracket, finish off the speech mark, and then close the circular bracket or the normal bracket. Press enter, or OK rather, and then the list of La Liga teams can come up. So I can choose Barcelona versus, say, Almeria. And now what should happen is if I change A3 to the English Premier League, for example, then the drop-down list should update to the Premier League teams. So I can select Liverpool and then their crosstown rivals, Everton. Now, lads, in cells M1 and M3, I'm going to find the expected goals of each club in this matchup using a very big array function called let. So it's going to be equals let, open bracket. I'm going to write the first name down as code, comma. I'm going to get the competition code by using an XLOOKUP function where I'm looking at A3 in the array competition and returning the competition_code array. Comma, competition_table is my second name. I'm finding that using the indirect function, open bracket. The reference text is code, ampersand, speech marks, underscore table, speech marks, close bracket. My next name is going to be the goal average of the competition, and that also can be found using the indirect function, and the reference text for that is code, ampersand, speech marks, underscore, average_goals. Close the speech marks and close the bracket, comma. My next name is the team, and to grab the team, I'm going to use the choose columns function, open bracket. My array is going to be the competition underscore table, and the column number is 3. Now to grab the matches played for this team, I'm going to use the choose columns formula again. Open bracket, competition underscore table is my array, and the column number is 4. So that's the 4th column in the competition table. My next name is goals for GF, and that's choose columns in the competition array and returning the column number 8. My next name is GA, goals against, and that's choose columns competition underscore table, column 9. Now, lads, my next name is the home underscore ATT, the home attack rating, and that's going to be found using the XLOOKUP function, open bracket, XLOOKUP, open bracket, lookup value is G1, absolute referenced, comma, team, comma, goals for GF, close bracket, divided by another XLOOKUP function, where I'm looking up G1 again within the team array and returning the MP, the matches played array. So close the bracket twice and then divide by the goal underscore average figure, comma, and then my next name will be the away attack rating, the attacking rating for the away side, open bracket, XLOOKUP, open bracket. This time I'll be looking for G3, the away side, absolute reference both the column and row here, within the team array, and then returning their goals for GF. Close the bracket, divide by the XLOOKUP function, open bracket, my lookup value will be G3 again, the away side, and I'm looking them up in the team array and returning their matches played, MP, double closing bracket, divided by goal underscore average. Now I want to find the home defense rating, so home underscore DEF, comma, that's going to be found using another XLOOKUP function, open bracket, XLOOKUP, looking up G1 within the team array and then returning GA, goals against, one closing bracket divided by XLOOKUP, open bracket, lookup array will be G1, lookup value rather, and the lookup array will be team yet again, looking up Liverpool within the list of teams, and then returning the array MP, matches played. Close that with 2 brackets, divide by the goal average again, and then we'll come up with our last rating, away defense rating, away underscore DEF, using pretty much the same XLOOKUP function, looking up G3, the away side within the team array, returning their goals against, dividing that by an XLOOKUP function that looks up the away side in G3 in the team array and returns their matches played, double closing bracket, and then divide by the goal underscore average. The next name will be the home underscore expected goals, or XG, and that can be calculated by multiplying the home underscore ATT rating by the away underscore DEF rating, multiplied by the goal underscore average, multiplied by the square root SQRT, open bracket, of 1 plus the home underscore advantage. So close that bracket, and then for the away underscore XG, the away expected goals figure, that's going to be the home underscore DEF, the home defensive rating, multiplied by the away attacking rating, multiplied by the goal underscore average, and then multiplying by, in brackets, 1 divided by SQRT, the square root of, open bracket, 1 plus the home underscore advantage. So close that bracket twice, and then the last part of the let function is returning either the formula or name for that cell. And so for us, I want to find the home underscore XG, the home expected goals for Liverpool in their match against Everton at home. And in this match, it's 1.94. If I drag the formula down to cell M3, it'll be the same figure, but I've got to obviously update the home expected goals to be the away expected goals. And then I get a figure of 0.63 for Everton. I'll reduce these to 2 decimal places. And then if I change the teams in the matchup, the expected goals should change as well. So if I change Liverpool to an easier opponent for Everton, say Burnley, then the expected goals change, with Everton now the favourite. And then I can switch it around from Everton to Tottenham to change the expected goals yet again. However, lads, there will be an error if I change the competition in cell A3 to a competition where the cells in G1 and G3 don't match, meaning the teams in G1 and G3 are not in the competition selected. So in M1 and M3, I'm going to wrap the whole formula in an if error function. So that's just putting if error at the start of the formula, comma, and then if there's an error, put 2 speech marks with nothing in between, meaning a blank cell will be returned. And that's what's happened here. Man United and Tottenham aren't in the Bundesliga, so there's an error. And because I've got an if error function, M1 and M3 are blank. But if I select 2 eligible Bundesliga teams from the drop-down list in cells G1 and G3, then the expected goals will update and the formula will work without an error. And now that we've got the expected goals for both team lads, we can work out the probability of certain events happening. So in cells A6 to F6, I want you to merge and center them and put the text win, draw, win. Then in A12, copy and paste that to make the double chance text there. We're finding the markets for both of those. Do the same thing in cells H6 to N6, copy that to row 12. So we're finding the under, over, and both teams to score market as well. And then in row 18, merge and center those scores so we can eventually find the correct score market in this game. Now in cells A7, put the text result, B7 probability, and then C7 value. In A8, the result is going to be a Bayern Munich win. So to get that text coming up, it's equal G1, ampersand in speech marks, space, win, close speech marks. So if I drag that out, Bayern Munich win comes up. If I change the value in cell G1 by selecting something different in the drop-down list, then that team will appear, say, Leverkusen win. A9, draw. A10, G3, ampersand, speech marks, space, win, close the speech marks. So I get Dortmund win there. And now to find the win probability for Bayern, it's going to be another long let function, but it's an efficient one, so I'll take you through it. Equals let, open bracket, the home underscore expected goals is going to be equal to cell M1. That's not going to change, so absolute reference that. The away underscore XG, the away expected goals is equal to M3, the expected goals for Dortmund in this case. My next name is going to be goals, and that's going to be a sequence function where my rows are 91, 1 column, start at 0, and the step is 1. Close the bracket, comma, the home underscore goal underscore probability is going to be equal to a Poisson.dist, Poisson distribution function, where X is the goals name, the mean is the home underscore expected goals, and the cumulative is false. So close that bracket, comma, my next name is the away underscore goal underscore probability, and that's the same thing, but using the away expected goals as the mean in the formula. So Poisson distribution, goals is X, mean is away underscore expected goals, and the cumulative is false. Close the bracket. My next name is the home underscore win underscore probability, and in this formula I'm going to calculate the probability of Bayern Munich based on the expected goals of Bayern and Dortmund. That's going to be equal to the sum, open bracket, drop, open bracket, home goal probability is the array in the drop function, and I'm going to drop 1 row. Multiply that by the scan function, open bracket, the initial value is going to be 0. The array is going to be another drop function, open bracket. In this drop function, the array is the away underscore goal underscore probability name. The number of rows is going to be equal to -1. Close the bracket, comma, the function is lambda, open bracket, where the parameter is a, comma, b, comma, a plus b. Close the bracket 3 times, and that's the home win probability. I've got to do the same thing for the away win probability now, but use the away expected goals. So, comma, sum, open bracket, drop, open bracket. The array is the away goal probability name, comma, the number of rows is 1. Close the bracket, multiply that by a scan function where the initial value is 0 and the array is a drop function using the home goal probability array, and the number of rows I'm dropping is -1. Close the bracket, comma, lambda, the first parameter is a, second b, comma, and the calculation is a plus b. Close the bracket 3 times, and then now the draw underscore probability, my next name, comma, is going to be equal to 1 minus the home win probability plus the away win probability, so that all these 3 events sum to 1 or 100%. Close the bracket there, and then as I did in cells M1 and M3, the last name or calculation in the let function is what we're returning, and in this case I want to see the probability of Bayern Munich winning, which is the home underscore win underscore probability name. Close that bracket, press enter, and I can see it's returned a figure of 0.59. Drag this down to cell B10. In B9, change home win probability to draw probability. Press enter on that, and then in B10, it's going to be away win probability, the probability of Dortmund winning in this case. Select those three cells, B8 to B10, and you've got to make sure that the sum is equal to 1 or 100%, otherwise the formula is wrong. And then reduce that to a percentage with 2 decimal points, and then you can see the probability of each team winning as well as a draw. Now, the value is just 1 divided by the probability. These are intrinsic decimal odds. So if a sports book were offering odds on this event, then that would be the fair price. So just 1 divided by whatever the result is in column B. Now for the double chance market, in cell A13, put the text event, B13 probability, C13 value. In A14, it's going to be equals G1 ampersand speech marks or draw. In A15, in speech marks, draw or ampersand G3, the away side. And then in A16, G1 ampersand or in speech marks ampersand G3. So either the home team or the away team winning. Now the probability of Bayern winning or a draw is going to be equal to B8 plus B9. A draw or a Dortmund away side win is equal to B9 plus B10, and then a home or away win is equal to B10 plus B8. Now the value formula is going to be exactly the same in C14. It's 1 divided by B14, and then drag that down to row 16, change to currency formatting, and then reduce to 2 decimal places if needed. So now the next thing I'm going to do is find the under-over market. So in cell H7, put the text threshold. This will be the threshold of goals over or under. And then in B9 and 10, over and under. So usually the threshold is about 2.5 goals. So to find the probability of the total goals in the match being over 2.5 goals, we need to use 1 minus the Poisson dot distribution function, where x is going to be I7, the threshold. The mean is going to be M1 plus M3, the sum of expected goals in the match, and the cumulative is true. Close the bracket, and you'll get the probability of the number of goals being over the threshold in cell I7. And of course, you can change this to 3.5, 4.5, whatever you want. And then for the under market, it's just that Poisson distribution function where x is the threshold in I7, the mean is M1 plus M3, and the cumulative is true. So again, the sum of these two markets should always equal 1 or 100%. And if you change the threshold in I7, you should get different values. I'll find the value of each market in column J now by dividing 1 by the probability of each event, and we can see the over market is the most favorable here. If I change the team, say to Leipzig here as the home side, then the under over market along with the other two markets we've already calculated have changed. So before I calculate the both teams to score market, it's going to be more useful to calculate the correct score in this model. So I want you to merge and send the cells F20 to I20, and then put the text equals G1, the home side. Do the same thing in column A now from cells A24 to A29. Merge and center the cells, and then put the formula equals G3 to return the text of the away side. Now lads, what I've got to do is spill the numbers 0 through to 10 horizontally, starting from cell C21. So I'm going to use the transpose function wrapped around a sequence function here with 11 rows, 1 column starting at the number 0. 2 closing brackets, and then 0 goes through to 10 in column M there. Put that in bold, and then I'll do the same thing but vertically starting at B22, 0 through to 10. So just the sequence function, 11 rows, 1 column starting at 0. Close the bracket, and then I'll put that in bold as well. And then I'm going to select cells B21 through to M32, put all borders around it, and then I'll fill the 0 through to 10 numbers in grey, just as I did with the team names. Now to find the probability of a 0-all scoreline, 1-1, 3-0, whatever, I've got to multiply the home side's probability of scoring their specific amount of goals up the top there by the away side's probability of scoring their amount of goals vertically. So to do that, I'm going to do the first half, Poisson.dis, Poisson distribution function. X is going to be C, $21. The mean is going to be the expected number of goals for the home side, and the cumulative is false. I'm getting the exact probability of Leipzig scoring 0 goals here, and then multiplying it by another Poisson distribution function, where X is $B22, the mean is M3, and the cumulative is false. This returns the probability of Dortmund, the away side, scoring 0 goals. So after I put in false correctly here, so close the bracket and press enter, I'm going to get a decimal reflecting the probability of a 0-all scoreline in this match. And before I drag it down and across to apply for all possible scorelines, I'm going to wrap it in an if error function to return speech mark, indicating nothing if there is an error in this formula. And that's going to be the case when, again, the home and away side do not match the competition selected in cell A3. But I'll put it to a percentage now and apply some conditional formatting to it. So go into color scales here and just select the first one that makes the most likely events highlight themselves in green and the least likely in red. And so you get this nice probability matrix here. And when I change the teams, the correct score matrix will change. And so you'll find favorites have green highlighted towards their side, and non-favorites or underdogs will have more of a red tone to their scores. So if I put Wolfsburg versus Union Berlin here, again, the correct score changes. I can use this to calculate the probability of both teams scoring now. So in cell I13, put the text probability, and then in J13, value. In H14, I'm going to put the text yes, and then in H15, no. So to calculate the probability that both teams do score, it's going to be 1 minus the 3 events in which that doesn't happen. And so I'll go straight down to cell I15 to calculate that. When both teams don't score, it's going to be one of 3 score lines: C22, D22, and C23. That's a 0-all draw and a 1-0 win for both sides. So by adding these separate probabilities, I get 37.9% for the no event, and for the yes, obviously, it's just 1 minus the event where they don't score, which is 1 minus no, so I get a total sum of 100% or 1. Now, the value will just be 1 divided by I14, or the probability of the event again, to get fair decimal odds of this event. Now I can run the model on some tests because it's basically done now. You'll see if I select a league and the teams in cells G1 and G3 don't match that, I get value errors. This can be easily fixed up by wrapping these formulas in an if error function. It's not crucial though. The model doesn't get broken when there is value errors in the dashboard. You just need to put in the correct teams in G1 and G3 and the whole table will update. Because I've got this file connected through a Power Query to update those stats and get live stats in every day, go into the data tab and press the refresh all button up there. This pulls in the newest stats to the raw data and data worksheet so that your probabilities are accurate. Now lads, there is one more feature I won't explain in this video, and that is bringing in the fixtures for each competition. In here I've got a date range that I can enter. This is from the 5th of May to the 12th. So if I update that, then the EPL games yet to have been played appear in here. I can change this yet again to say the 2nd of June in 2024, and then all the fixtures will appear with the date, local time, home and away. If I change the competitions to the French Ligue 1, then I get the corresponding games for that time period, and I can change the teams so that the probabilities update. So lads, if you want to learn how to add this feature into the model, or you want to just download the whole model and get Poisson probabilities for every match day with live and updating data, then make sure you become a member of the Excel Lads Patreon. This file and every other model I make will be available for download, and as well, you can connect with hundreds of other lads to improve your sports modeling skills. Thanks for watching, lads.